Chosen one, stop now and listen carefully, not just with your ears, but with that place inside you that has always been awake since childhood, but never had words to express itself. Because what is happening at this exact moment is not coincidence, not algorithm, not your casual search for content. This is an ancestral veil being torn before your eyes, a moment where invisible worlds collide with your tangible reality, where the silence of God that you endured for so long finally breaks into thundering revelation. God said, "What was hidden from you in the shadows will now be manifested in the light. Not tomorrow when you're more prepared, not next week when you have more strength. Now, in this moment, in this breath you're taking as these words penetrate your consciousness. If the truth had been revealed to you too early, it would have crushed you under the weight of its magnitude. You wouldn't have had internal structure to carry it, no spiritual foundation to sustain it. You would have imploded under premature knowledge, would have become arrogant with revelation that wasn't forged in character. And if the truth had been revealed too late, you would have been completely lost trying to survive without it, molded by the lies the world tells about who you should be. So God waited. He observed your every movement, measured your every response, calibrated every season of your life, until reaching the exact moment where you would finally be ready, not just to receive the truth, but to carry the weight of revelation without destroying yourself in the process. And now He speaks from the beginning of your conscious journey. You noticed there was something fundamentally different about you. You didn't move like others, didn't think like the crowd, didn't get enthusiastic about what excited the masses. There was a depth in you that frightened people accustomed to superficiality, an intensity that bothered lukewarm people, an authenticity that threatened those who built entire identities based on masks. You tried to shrink to fit, tried to dim your light so as not to outshine others, tried to silence your inner voice to harmonize with the mediocre chorus. But no matter how much you tried to force that adjustment, something inside you categorically refused to die. Something kept shouting that there was more, that you were made for more. That internal resistance wasn't immature rebellion. That was intentional divine design. You were literally engineered with spiritual friction, built with an internal alarm system that automatically triggers when you approach falsehood, when you enter environments where truth is negotiated for convenience. Your soul was programmed to violently reject anything that isn't authentic, any relationship that isn't genuine, any purpose that isn't heavenly. That's why you could never comfortably settle in certain places. That's why you always felt like a foreigner in territories where everyone seemed perfectly at ease. That's why relationships that started promising suddenly became toxic. Why jobs that seemed stable transformed into emotional prisons. Why even faith communities eventually revealed themselves as systems of control. For years you thought there was something fundamentally wrong with you, that you were the problem, that you were too demanding, too sensitive, too intense. But the truth being manifested now is completely different. It wasn't you who was wrong. God was systematically closing doors that seemed golden, but would lead you to infinitely smaller destinations. He was dismantling relationships that would drain your purpose, drop by drop. He was removing opportunities that, to human eyes, seemed right, but in the spiritual realm represented fatal detours. God wasn't sabotaging your temporary comfort, He was preserving your eternal magnitude. And every no that shattered your expectations, every rejection that broke your heart, every door that slammed in your face, none of it was waste. It was celestial surgical precision, removing tumors of mediocrity before they killed your destiny. Now pay attention, because this part will reorganize how you interpret every painful experience from your past. You didn't just go through random difficulties, you went through divine precision pressure, strategic training disguised as tragedy. Every delay that frustrated you wasn't God being slow, it was God being strategically patient, because He saw variables you couldn't see. Every betrayal that shattered you wasn't God being cruel, it was God surgically removing people who didn't have spiritual capacity to walk beside you. Every season where your strength was demanded to the last limit, but where your rewards were completely withheld, wasn't God punishing you. It was God training you at a level most will never experience. That wasn't purposeless suffering. That was weight training for real spiritual authority. Athletes who only lift light weights never develop real strength. Soldiers who train only in controlled environments collapse on the first day of real combat. Leaders who are never tested in darkness crumble when the lights go out. You are being taught something most never learn: how to remain firm when all applause disappears, how to continue obeying when all clarity fades, how to maintain faith when every evidence screams you should quit. Most people function based on external validation, but remove it and they stop, lose motivation, collapse because they never developed an internal motor. But not you. You were forced to develop the capacity to function with excellence in the total absence of external validation. You learned to move with purpose when no one was watching. You learned to work with integrity when no one recognized your efforts. You learned to obey God in silence when there was no stage, no audience witnessing your private faithfulness. And that's why you survived experiences that destroyed people around you who seemed stronger. That's why you crossed seasons of such intense darkness, but somehow woke up the next day still alive, still standing, still willing to take one more step. God wasn't trying to break you. He was forging you like precious metal that passes through fire to be purified and strengthened. He was building a spiritual nervous system capable of holding authentic power without corrupting. He was developing an internal structure that could carry divine anointing without imploding under pressure or becoming arrogant with promotion. Because authority without tested character is dangerous, power without forged integrity is a time bomb. Anointing without humility is fuel for catastrophic spiritual disaster. So God put you in the fire not to annihilate you, but to systematically burn everything that was false in you. You weren't being judged to fail. You were being carefully observed for readiness. God watched you in absolute silence, in the shadows where you thought you were completely alone. He observed how you handled disappointment when no one was watching. He observed how you responded when you were misunderstood and had no platform to defend yourself. He observed how you treated people who could do nothing for you. And when you chose integrity, even without visible reward, when you chose honor even when you were dishonored, when you chose faith even when every evidence screamed, "Give up," something monumental shifted in the spiritual realm. You crossed an invisible threshold. You passed through a narrow portal that most never find. Stop now. If what you're hearing is resonating deeply within you, then mark this moment. Press like right now as a spiritual marker. A moment where you declare, "I receive this, this is for me," and subscribe to this channel, because these messages are for those who are awakening, realigning, and entering what God already prepared. If you're here now, you were summoned to remain connected. So what is the truth being manifested now? The truth is this: you are not late, you are not behind, you are not broken. You were strategically and intentionally withheld so that your emergence would carry genuine weight, real authority, lasting impact. When something emerges prematurely, it's fragile, immature, crumbles under pressure. But when something is withheld until the exact moment of maturity, when it's developed in the shadows, when it's forged in fire, when it finally emerges, it's absolutely unbreakable. And that's exactly what's happening with you now. What opens won't be fragile. What begins won't be shallow. What moves through you won't need constant validation because it was built on rock. Your next season will speak for itself. People will feel the weight of your presence before you explain who you are. Opportunities will find you supernaturally without you frantically chasing them. Doors ordained by God will open without you forcing them. Resistance will retreat because something shifted in the spiritual atmosphere. Not because you became aggressive, but because you finally became completely aligned with your original design, your heavenly purpose, your true identity. And here's something critical. As truth is being revealed to you, truth is also being revealed around you about who people really are. Masks will start slipping. Hidden motives will surface. Concealed intentions will lose their camouflage. Don't panic when this happens. This isn't loss. This is merciful clarity. God is removing noise so your discernment can breathe. Some people will quietly exit your life, and you need to let them go. Others will resist loudly, create drama, try to make you feel guilty, and you need to let them go too. You are no longer called to explain every movement to environments you've already outgrown. You're entering a season not of frantic effort, but of natural authority. This means you stop chasing what is destined to come to you. You stop begging clarity from people who benefit from your confusion. You now move with disciplined restraint, with intentional precision, with calm that destabilizes chaos. Here's a profound truth. Your most powerful weapon isn't your verbal eloquence or your ability to argue. Your most devastating weapon is simply your authentic presence. You carry quietness in a noisy world. You carry clarity in a distracted culture. You carry depth in a superficial age. And that's why people project onto you. Why some feel attracted while others feel threatened. Genuine light exposes darkness without accusing it, reveals falsehood without confronting it, destabilizes mediocrity simply by existing in excellence. Expect supernatural acceleration, but don't confuse acceleration with chaos. Things will start aligning faster than your emotions can process. Don't self-sabotage by doubting what you prayed for years. Don't reject the answer because it arrived differently than you expected. This is divine alignment, reaching your faithful obedience. You're not entering something new. You're entering what was always yours, now strong enough to hold the weight. But here's what's crucial. You need to remain deeply rooted, firmly grounded. Stay clean in your intentions. Remain radically honest with God, transparent about your struggles, because promotion without roots leads to falling. Authority without intimacy with God leads to corruption. And that's why I want to introduce you to something prepared precisely for this moment. On the Way with Jesus. This is a powerful e-book containing 60 consecutive days of prayer and deep reflection for you to walk intimately with Jesus during this critical season of manifestation. This isn't just another generic devotional. It's a strategic guide to keep you anchored in genuine intimacy with Christ, while everything around you is dramatically accelerating. You can have revelation without relationship, but revelation without relationship eventually destroys you. You can have authority without intimacy, but authority without intimacy inevitably corrupts you. You need more than knowledge about your calling. You need daily, deep connection with the one who called you. Over the next 60 days, this ebook will guide you through powerful prayers and reflections that will keep you firmly rooted in Jesus. The link is in the description. Don't ignore this. This is a tool God placed in your path exactly when you need it most. Now do something essential. If this message spoke to you, if you recognize this wasn't chance but divine summons, then respond now. First, go to the description and download On the Way with Jesus immediately. Don't postpone saying, "I'll do it later." 60 days of intentional prayer will ground you in unimaginable ways. Second, comment now, "I receive the truth God revealed to me." Not emojis, not vague responses, but a clear declaration. Your words have power. Third, share this video with one person who's waiting for confirmation, someone who's questioning if they're still on the right path, someone who needs to hear that delay wasn't abandonment, but strategic preparation. You could be the answer to someone's prayer today. Stay close because more is coming. What God is unfolding in the coming weeks is only for those who remained when staying seemed impossible, for those who continued obeying when clarity disappeared, for those who refused to give up. Walk in unshakable truth. Remain in penetrating clarity. Maintain yourself in deep intimacy with Jesus through consistent prayer. And never forget, God spoke about you, God spoke to you, and now you can no longer live small pretending you didn't hear. This wasn't just information. This was divine confirmation, sealing something already moving in the spiritual realm. God didn't bring you through all this just to abandon you now. What you felt during this message, that tightness in your chest, that internal confirmation, wasn't passing emotion. It was your spirit recognizing celestial truth. Something ancient inside you just stood up. The truth was manifested, and once truth is revealed, ignorance is no longer an option. You are now responsible for what you heard, not in fear, but in powerful alignment. Walk differently, speak differently, decide differently, because heaven has already marked this moment, and what God releases now will not be stopped.